Hello everyone, my name is Clarissa Chavez and this is my cultural event presentation. So the culture that I decided to focus on with this presentation is Native American Indians. So the reason why I decided to focus on this culture is because after receiving my bachelor's degree in social work, I would like to work in foster care and adoption. So within the last 3 years of experience that I've already had working with neglected and abused and at-risk children in the Arizona child welfare system, I've noticed that Native American populations are one of the more dominant cultures of populations of children in Arizona that are experiencing these issues. So I believe that by learning about the Native American culture and stories that I will be able to better understand why these issues are even present to begin with, which would ultimately then help me in my future if I ever have to work with Native American children in the foster care and adoption system. Of course, I understand that Native Americans who live on reservations usually have their own social workers, but I feel as though by living in Arizona that my chances of working with families or children in this culture are very high. So the difference between my culture and the Native American culture, which my culture is Mexican American, well, there are many differences in comparison to the Native American culture. I think the main difference is that in Arizona and America, Native Americans have experienced, great loss and oppression for generations and generations, whereas the Mexican culture is based in a different country, and so we don't have the same sort of deep-rooted betrayal and oppression in America as Native Americans do, meaning that Native Americans have completely different social issues than Mexican Americans. So I feel that that's one thing that differentiates that culture from my culture, because they have experiences and feelings of oppression and betrayal by people who created, or people who they have to live with in this country with still. So it's just a bit of a difference, I feel. So my expectations before going to this festival, which was called the Native American 15th Seasons Festival. So, Native Trails celebrates it, the 15th season. So, my expectations before going to it is that I expected that through the storytelling and the music that was being played at the festival, I expected that I could learn and understand the hardships that Native Americans had to endure from, the beginning of time. So, I felt as though this would then help me better understand the reasoning behind why many Native American families in Arizona are experiencing issues that involve the needs of social workers. So like I said, the event I went to was called the Native Trails, and this is the 15th season of it, meaning that they have done it for 15 years. So I went to this event on February 16th. It started at 12 in the afternoon, and it was exactly 1 hour long, and it was located in the Scottsdale Center for the Performing Arts. It was located in the outside pavilion area, so the type of event it was more of like a outdoor festival feel. There was a food truck that was serving Native American cuisine, so like Indian fried bread, and then there was different tents and tables that were selling of artisans selling their Native American arts and craft work. So it was that type of event. And let's see. And then of course the most important part of the event was the fact that there was musicians of different Native American tribes that were explaining their songs, and through song and dance they were explaining how the importance of that is to their culture. So, my thoughts and feelings during the event. So, once I arrived at the event, I sat in the grass. It's very nice outside. I was surrounded by a lot of people, and I was looking at the stage. I could see that they were getting everything set up, so I was feeling pretty excited. I was feeling like I was going to get a lot out of the event once I was completed with it. And then as it started going, and so each person would, before they would begin playing the song or doing the dance, they would come up to the stage and they would introduce themselves in their native language, and then they would basically talk about what the meaning was behind the song and dance that they were doing. So some of the things that they talked about were the representation of using animals in songs, and some other things that they talked about is how the songs would depict stories that describe some pain or hardships that the Native American culture has gone through. And there's just different meanings for every song and dance that they sing. So as the songs were being played, I feel like the sounds of the instruments and the music it almost felt very like painful. Like it felt very deep. I'm not sure if it was just the tone of the music, but it made me feel like, and also depending on if it was a faster song or a slower song, you could tell the difference between if it was more of like a happier vibe to more of like a pained type of music. So I feel like I was definitely able to understand the journey and the struggle of Native Americans as they talked about music and traditions in the beginning, and then as the concert went on, they were talking about more time was going on and how the music had evolved and their traditions and spiritualities and stuff like that. So through listening to the music and through being at the festival, I was able to learn the important relationship that Native American culture has with animals. So basically one of the things that I remember them saying is that they believe that the eagle represents the messenger to their creator, so their God. So in one of their songs, they dressed up as eagles, and their costumes or their attire was really made of real eagle feathers. And the man who was speaking about the song basically described that this was their way of sending messages and good vibes to their creator by, pretending to be eagles and dancing and singing. So I believe that they have a very strong spiritualistic type bond with animals, which was displayed throughout every song because they were dressed up as other types of animals. So, and let's see. Another thing that I learned about this culture is their strong respect for themselves, plants, and the animals, and respect for taking care of everything that's alive. So basically each speaker that talked about the importance of, having a purpose in life, and everything is a big circle, and taking care of animals and plants and utilizing the land. And so they seem very appreciative of the land, which makes sense, especially when we talk about the types of oppression that Native Americans have experienced, as in the fact that their land had been forced to be taken away from them at times in history. So it's definitely I definitely understand more now why that was such a significant time for them. So another thing that I also learned is their wisdom and respect for elders. Oftentimes the songs talked about how a lot of times these songs would be presented for elders, or elders would be the ones who would lead the songs. So that caused me to believe that their opinion of their elders is an important aspect in their culture. And like I said, they just had they seem to specify that they are a very spiritualistic culture, and balance and harmony in life and that sort of feel. And I also was able to understand that through music it is more of a meditation experience for them through dance, and that this is something that is learned from childhood into on, as long as their culture is, as long as their tribe is big on doing that type of stuff. So and another thing I also learned was about the natural medicines that Native Americans used. Throughout one of the songs, one of the men who was discussing the song was talking about how the song was basically about how their backyard is their medicine, and he talked about some different types of healing methods that they used in using plants and meditation outside and dance. and basically asking the gods or their creator to heal them or their family members of any medical issues that they may have. So some of the strengths that I identified for this population, this first strength that I identified is that they're very family oriented. I was able to notice this right away because it was actually really cute. Whenever they came out to do their first dance, there was like a little boy and he was dressed up and he was also doing the dance, and there was also women incorporated in the dance, and men, some young men, some older men. So this just made me feel like it's important for them to include the family in these types of events. So that makes me think that, of course, family must be important throughout every aspect of their life. And another strength that I found from them is that they have a strong sense of life and being, and they understand what their purpose in life is. Whenever the men were talking about some of their songs, they talked very confident in the fact that everything happens for a reason, and we're put on the earth to take care of the animals, to take care of the land, to take care of our family. So they seem very content in doing and following the culture, norms, and values of the Native American culture, as it seems like they are very confident in the fact that this is what they're supposed to be doing, which again I can understand may be difficult for them to adjust to other cultures or other societies, being that this is such a strong feeling for them. So, and one of the environments that I feel influence this population the most is urban landscape environments. Again, I talked about how, at the festival I talked about So yeah, the urban and landscape environment influences this population very much, as we know that most of Native American tribes are based in more secluded areas in Arizona and of course other states in the United States, and they feel a very strong bond to be, with nature and with animals. So my thoughts and feelings after this event is I feel that I now have a better understanding of the strengths and values in the Native American culture. I feel like this gives me a more appreciation for this culture and their importance of following their cultural norms and including their family in different things. So I also now admire more some tribes, their passion for the earth and animals, and I'm very amazed that they can keep the aspects of their culture so rich and strong after so many years, especially in the United States when we become more advanced in technology and different types of thing. It feels like as though they're able to still sustain their culture, which just amazes me, and it just shows me how much they are very willing to keep that culture alive. So what can social workers do to support this population of focus? So the first thing that I definitely think that a social worker can do is take into account their family oriented aspect of the culture. So, when offering services with them and when doing interventions, I feel like it would be, especially if some counseling of some sort is needed, I feel like it'd be important to ask the client, if he's the client of Native American culture, if they want to include their family in the process, as it seems this may be more comforting for them and may be more helpful. And also, during interventions, we can respect their wishes to utilize spiritualistic healing methods instead of normal, westernized medicine and methods, so we could give them the space and freedom to do what they feel is going to work best in healing them for whatever it is that they need help with. And then also on top of that, offer resources that correlate with their culture, so different things that the Native American cultures do, like sweat lodges and different using music and dance through healing and pottery and art, so we could offer that as a type of resource if they don't already have access to it. So how did this experience overall help shape your future work as a culturally competent social worker? So this has allowed me to become more confident in communicating and working with this culture. Now that I've learned the important cultural values and aspects of the Native American culture, like spirituality and family, and many other things, I feel as though I'll be able to be more comfortable while working with them and feel more confident in that I can help them solve whatever issue it is that we are dealing with at hand. And I feel that by doing this with one culture, I can now be able to do it next with Asian American culture and African American culture, and just be able to eventually become more culturally competent overall, as long as I continue to build up my confidence and stay informed about these different cultures, like I am now informed more about the Native American culture. So something that I can do to be a change agent, I feel, is, for example, in my future, let's say I'm working in a social service agency, and I can help ensure that the social service agency and the social workers I'm working with are have knowledge on different Native American cultural norms. So one way that I could help have this happen is that I can encourage for us to utilize a Native American social worker who works on reservations to come and give my organization that I'm working for trainings and to help us learn and teach us about the different aspects and values that are important of the Native American culture and different communication skills. So I feel that this would be one good way to make sure that the future, if I am working in a future social service agency, is knowledgeable of the different Native American cultures, which would only make us more successful social workers and working with them and their families. So yeah, this was my cultural event presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I was able to teach you guys a little bit more about the Native American culture. Thank you.